Everyone thought she was just another old woman in line. No complaints, no rush. Then her phone rang, and the bank manager froze mid-step. Dishonor has a way to rub you off an opportunity. The bank was already tired before noon on one fateful day. Printers whined in uneven bursts. Keyboards clicked without rhythm. A low murmur hung in the air, the sound of people explaining the same problems for the third or fourth time. The line curved around the rope divider and nearly touched the door. At the very end of it stood an elderly woman. She didn't lean on the counter. She didn't check her phone. She didn't ask questions. She stood straight, both hands wrapped around a worn leather purse that looked older than most of the furniture in the branch. Her coat was thin, her shoes were scuffed, her hair was neatly pinned back, gray and careful. In her hand was a small slip of paper. A117. The digital screen above the tellers blinked and refreshed. Now serving A142. No one reacted. The woman glanced up at the screen, then down at her number. She frowned slightly, not in anger, but in calculation, as if she were checking her own memory. Then she stepped forward half a pace, stopping exactly where she had been before. She waited. The branch was short-staffed. 2 tellers had called in sick. 1 new hire was being trained in the back office and couldn't touch a live account yet. The manager had already reminded everyone, twice, that wait times were being monitored. Speed mattered today. Accuracy could wait. Evan was teller 3, late 20s, clean shirt wrinkled by stress, tie loosened just enough to look casual, but not enough to break dress code. His screen lagged every time he tried to pull transaction history. He hadn't eaten lunch. He had stopped counting how many people had sighed at him. The man in front of him was already irritated. "I just need this processed," the man said, tapping the counter with 2 fingers. "It should take 2 minutes." Evan nodded. 2 minutes turned into 6. A system error, a reset, an apology. When the receipt finally printed, Evan glanced up at the line, already preparing himself for the next complaint. That's when he saw her. The elderly woman met his eyes. Just for a moment, she gave a small, polite nod. Nothing more. Before Evan could speak, someone else stepped forward from the side. "Hey, quick question. I'm just dropping this off." No number, no hesitation. Evan looked at the drop envelope. Business account, high balance, the kind that triggered a green flag on his screen. "Sure," Evan said, already reaching for it. The woman didn't react. She didn't clear her throat. She didn't raise her hand. She just adjusted her grip on the purse and took a small step back, restoring the space that had briefly existed between her and the counter. The system moved on without her. Minutes passed, then more. The line shifted forward in waves. People came and went. Some transactions were loud, some were emotional. A woman argued about a fee. A contractor complained about a frozen account. Evan smiled, apologized, explained, repeated himself. The elderly woman remained at the edge of his vision. He told himself he'd get to her next. Then the manager leaned over his shoulder. "Push simple transactions," she whispered. "We're behind." Evan nodded. He didn't look up. Another customer waved her phone. "My app says the transfer failed." Evan turned back to the screen. The woman checked the wall clock. Her shoulders sunk a fraction of an inch, the kind of movement you only notice if you're watching closely. She shifted her weight. Her knees protested. She ignored them. Standing had become work. Someone behind her muttered something about the line. Someone else shrugged. It was a bank. Waiting was part of the deal. Her purse slipped open slightly as she adjusted it. Inside were papers, not folded receipts or loose bills, but documents, thick, carefully organized, edges yellowed with age. A heading was visible for just a second. Account established, 1971. No one saw it. Evan finished another transaction and hit complete. He glanced at the queue system. His finger hovered over the button that would call the next number. A notification flashed. High-value client waiting. He didn't question it. He pressed the button. A143, he called out. The woman's number remained in her hand. A117. She exhaled slowly. Not a sigh, just air leaving her lungs, steady and controlled. She leaned against the rope divider, barely noticeable, as if leaning too hard might attract attention. She had learned long ago that interrupting rarely helped. The sound cut through the bank without warning, a phone ringing. Not loud, not modern, not the familiar buzz of a smartphone. This was sharper, older, a mechanical trill that didn't belong in a room full of glass and touchscreens. People looked around. The elderly woman reached into her purse. She moved carefully, deliberately, as if every motion mattered. The phone she called out was small and dark, the kind with physical buttons worn smooth by years of use. She answered quietly. "Yes," she said. Pause. "I'm at the bank." Another pause. "Yes, I've been waiting." Her voice wasn't annoyed. It wasn't apologetic. It carried a calm certainty that didn't ask permission. Evan looked up. Something about the tone made his hand still on the keyboard. The customer in front of him kept talking, but Evan wasn't listening anymore. The woman nodded as she listened. "I understand," she said. "Yes, the original documents are with me." Her eyes flicked toward the teller desks, just briefly, not accusing, observing. Evan felt a faint, unfamiliar tightening in his chest. She continued, her words measured. "Yes, the legacy account review." The phrase landed like a dropped coin. Evan knew that term, not from daily work, but from training modules and compliance emails he'd skimmed and forgotten. Legacy accounts were rare, old structures, complicated histories, the kind of thing auditors cared about. The woman shifted the phone to her other ear. "No, I don't mind waiting," she said. "I remember the decision." She paused. "The one made in this branch." The manager looked up sharply from across the floor. "What's happening?" she mouthed. Evan shook his head. He honestly didn't know. The woman listened again. "Yes, 1978. Another pause. "Yes, approved internally." Another. "Yes, overridden locally." The air in the bank seemed to thin. Conversations dropped in volume. Even the printers sounded quieter, as if someone had turned them down. People didn't understand the words, but they understood the weight behind them. The woman opened her purse wider and removed a folder. It was thick, the kind that doesn't bend easily. Inside were forms stamped and signed in ink that had faded slightly over time, dates handwritten, initials in margins, history preserved. "Yes," she said into the phone, "that account was never closed." She paused. "No, it was repurposed." Her eyes lifted at the bank's logo mounted on the wall. "Without my consent." Evan's stomach dropped. Repurposed accounts, internal reallocations. He remembered now. Old cases discussed in hushed tones during compliance refreshers. Situations where decisions were made quietly, long before digital trails made everything traceable. The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, I was told it benefited the bank." Pause. "They said it was temporary." Her fingers tightened on the folder. The manager stepped forward, smoothing her blazer. "Ma'am, can we help you?" she said, voice suddenly warm. The woman covered the phone with her hand. "I'll be with you shortly." Not dismissive, not submissive. Final. The line no longer mattered. The numbers on the screen were meaningless. The manager gestured towards a private office, door already opening. "Please," she said, smiling too quickly. The woman didn't move right away. Into the phone, she said, "Yes, I'm ready to proceed." Pause. Full review. Another pause. "Yes, including this branch." She ended the call. The ringing stopped. The bank exhaled as one. As she walked past Evan's station towards the office, she didn't look at him. She didn't need to. Heat crept up Evan's neck and settled in his face. His hands hovered uselessly above the keyboard. He replayed every skipped glance, every next customer, every time he'd told himself he was just doing his job. He hadn't ignored her because she was difficult. He'd ignored her because she was quiet, because she was old, because the system had trained him to equate urgency with importance. As the office door closed behind her, Evan understood something he hadn't been taught in training. Some accounts don't expire, some decisions don't disappear, and some waits are not passive at all. They're patient, and they're being remembered.